Hello there, YouTube. This is Kurt, and today I'm going to do a Floowandereeze tutorial. Yes, I am very skilled, I would say, with the deck. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I have been playing it for a few months now. Ever since its release, I've had some success with it. I haven't really taken it. Well, I have taken it to one regional. I took a purposely jank version, did pretty well with it. I've taken it to countless locals. I know those go so far, but anyway, just listen to what I have to say if you want to beat this deck. In my personal opinion, this is a sample deck. I'm not saying this is the most optimal build, but this will be somewhat in the ballpark of what you'll be seeing. A lot of Flunder players will be still main decking some Dark Rulers, maybe some Mystic Mine. I think it's optimal to do D Fisher because right now that'll beat a lot of things just by activating it, not just hand traps like Lockbird, but it will also turn off Tier Limit completely. I want to make two clear points here. There are a couple things that people do not do against the Floowander matchup that they should be doing. So, especially in games 2 and 3, if you happen to be going second, there's one key at your disposal that a lot of people just don't utilize. A lot of people might not be playing M-Pen, but if you do something like bluff the battle phase, then the Floowander player will have to question, do I have to use my trap here, the Dreaming Town? Do I have to use my Dreaming Town now and get something out in the field? If you put pressure on them that way, most players, I think, game 2 and 3, if they're intelligent players, they will maybe try to go for the avian play. Sometimes you have no other choice, and you're going to get interrupted if you're going against a good Floowandereeze player. So that's what you have to kind of gauge. In my opinion, most Floowandereeze players, they're not. The deck has a high enough skill ceiling, but it's still also there's a low enough skill floor to where it attracts a lot of worse players, I would say, in my opinion, even though you can play the deck very optimally and somewhat creatively. So that being said, you have to kind of gauge how skilled your opponent is. If your opponent is more skilled, I think they're going to be more likely to actually believe your bluff. Weirdly, there's like an inverse relationship there, and they'll actually be forced to use the Dreaming Town. Then once that happens, hopefully you're side decking Dark Rulers, in that case, because I don't think evenly is necessarily even the most optimal play, but you want to bluff the evenly and then use Dark Ruler in your main phase too. Then you can do a lot of your shenanigans in a lot of your plays. That's one of your only hopes, in my opinion, because this deck is kind of oppressive. But I do want to talk about a little bit of interruption. If you have a choice between interrupting Rabina and interrupting England, again, sometimes you don't know and it sucks to make this decision, but if you have to choose between like imperming Rabina or imperming England, the best chance at you completely interrupting their play is for you to imperm the England. Don't interrupt this, interrupt this. That's what I would say. Now, if they normal summon Rabina without activating these cards, obviously that might be a good time to Ash or Imperm. But more than likely, if you know they have access to both of these, a lot of times you'll open up Rabina and the field spell, and you'll send Eaglin off of the field spell. That'll be a great time to potentially interrupt the Eaglin because they won't get to their M-Pen, which is their main +1 and starter for their next turn, which is your turn, if that makes sense. So that is another thing to keep in mind, and I want to point out what a good player would do. Say a good player opens up. Yeah, we'll just pretend we don't have these cards. We'll just have these cards. So we'll start out here, and we'll try this. So what a good player will probably do in this situation, they'll probably assume that you have a hand trap somewhere, depending on the meta. So right now it's a tier limit meta, so maybe there'll be an Imper, maybe there'll be an Ash, I don't know. If you want to set up your plays, a good player, in my opinion, will do this, obviously. They'll do this, but it depends on Rabina. So a good player will want to make sure that he can play through some interruption. So in this case, we'll probably add Stree. And the reason we're adding Stree, well, we have Rabina, so pretend we only have one Rabina. That's what I want to make clear. because we do have a follow-up no matter what. But say we have one Rabina. We're going to get Eaglin here. Eaglin will add the M-Pen. So if M-Pen, if this gets interrupted, you just kind of have a dead flat board that does absolutely nothing. So that's why they add the Stree. So again, it sucks, and really the cost to reward benefit here. Ideally, we would have something else like a dimension shifter, because you are just kind of a sitting duck at this point. So yes, a good player would probably go for a backup play, but at the same time, it depends if they have Dimension Shifter. Me, I would want Dimension Shifter, otherwise I would get greedy and I'd probably go for the barrier statue to make the full play instead of just making the backup play. But if I have something else like a Dimension Shifter, I probably will go for the safe play, which is going for another bird in hand. Maybe that's a little bit helpful. Those are the primary things I wanted to point out. Now, it does suck because Shifter is just an amazing card. It's an amazing card, and yes, it is an annoying card, and there's really not much you can do about it. I mean, obviously, you can run Called By, you can potentially run Gamma. That does suck, but again, the deck is good. I would say the deck is a lot better than what a lot of people have given it credit for. That being said, yeah, it's just so. I think so much is dependent on how skilled the Floowandereeze player is, because this deck can be piloted well and it can be piloted very crappy. I catch myself misplaying all the time, and again, Ryza is just a ridiculous closing card. As far, you really have to navigate every other situation very well, because a lot of players just do not know how to chain block. If you know how to chain block well and efficiently, then Floowandereeze can be a much, much better strategy. I'm trying to come up with any other advice. Again, you have to be aware of that M-Pen is not a once per turn. So really, a lot of people will be on multiple M-Pens. If they have a play that can potentially follow up with 2, well, that's going to be insane, and it's not going to be great for you. Just your opponent being able to keep adding +1 after +1 is insane. And we can also search DD Crow, which is also a weird but funny mechanic, in my opinion. Yeah, a lot of people will be playing Prosperity too. Again, as far as like, should you Ash extravagance, it's hard to say. I don't know. But keep in mind those 2 points. So if you have a choice between these two, interrupt Eaglin, because you don't want M-Pen to hit the board. And sometimes you just have to take that risk. And yes, it does suck very much. And Floowandereeze is a very it's a frustrating strategy for a lot of people, and I understand the reasons why, but I love the deck because I feel like I don't lose to stupid things like Scythe, or I have a chance against Tier Limit with a $50 deck. That's pretty awesome, in my opinion. And the deck is interactive enough going second for you to get in interesting game states. And the second thing to keep in mind is that you can bluff the battle phase. That is an option at your disposal, especially games 2 and 3, and people just ignore that for whatever reason. All right, that's all I got for the game, guys. Today, I'm at risk of talking too much, so I'll see you later. Peace.